Well, thank you, Barbara, for having me here this evening, and thank you for coming. And I'm just going to start off with how I started my personal journey to give you a little bit of background about me and how I became intuitive. I became intuitive. I first realized it when I was 14 years old. My father had passed away, and a week after he passed, he would always pull the covers up over me at nighttime, and because he was a salesperson, he traveled. And a week after he passed, I literally saw him standing by my bed and pulled the covers up over me, and I was 14. So I screamed because I was completely freaked out. And my mom comes running in the room, and she's like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "I saw a dad and he pulled the covers over me, and how is this possible?" And she's like, "Oh, that's so nice." And I'm like, "So nice?" And I was like all upset, and I wouldn't even sleep in my bed for like a month. So that was like my first realization that not only was I intuitive and could see people that have crossed, but apparently my mom had been intuitive because she thought it was no big deal. It's like, "Oh, I've seen Uncle Norbert, and I've seen, Uncle Cliff, and I knew Uncle Cliff was going to die a week before he did." And so we were raised Catholic, and it just wasn't talked about. But yet my father had it too. So it's like my Aunt Margaret had it really strong. My son has dreams before things happen at school, and then they happen, and he'll come home all excited. And he'll be like, "Wow, I did it again." So I think every single person has it. I think that different times in different people's life, you have these aha epiphany moments. I'm sure everyone can think of one moment that clearly stands out as your first really intuitive happening or event in your life that made an impression on you, that you're like, "Oh, I didn't know how I knew that," or "I saw a spirit," or had a vivid dream that was a visitation. So I really feel like that we're all capable of it, and that the more open we become and the more we quiet down and listen, the more we open and open and open, we get more and more abilities, and different abilities that surprise you sometimes and just come and they flow. And I know this is a group about leaders, and I just wanted to share what I think a great leader is. A great leader makes you feel their passion and helps you realize yours. And that's kind of what I aspire to do eventually, is to be able to inspire people to have self-love, to not care about what other people think of you, and not to fear death, because we don't ever really die. We are our soul, and we're eternal. So I had my next really big aha moment. I was 14, and life went on, and the next time was 16 years later. When I was 30, I had a major surgery, and I hemorrhaged, and they didn't realize it until they went to get me up out of bed, and I had emergency surgery. And that's when I had a near-death experience. I saw them operating on me before the anesthesiologist had put me out. I saw them cutting into me. My dad came and met me, and he actually, told me, "What are you doing with your life?" Because at that time I was in an abusive relationship, and we were raised, you can do anything you set your mind to. It was a very positive environment. So for me to be with someone that was abusive and very negative just wasn't natural or right. But I had become a caregiver, losing my father at such a young age. But he just said to me, "What are you doing with your life?" So I knew it was time to make a change. But in that moment, I felt so euphoric, such joy. And what really stood out to me is I was still me. My personality, my dad's personality, we could tell who each other were. We were the same people without our bodies. And we could talk without speaking, just thinking. The thoughts went back and forth between us. But what really stood out was peace like I've never ever felt ever again, and would like to not that I have a death wish, but at this time I had children and I had a new child, and it's like I didn't want to come back. My sister's like, thank God you did, but it was so beautiful that I didn't want to come back. But what it taught me is not to fear death and not to let other people, if you're in a bad relationship or if you don't like your job, don't let other people influence you. Do what your passion is, and don't be afraid if others criticize you, because who really cares? It's your soul, it's your soul's path that you need to be guided on, and everybody awakens spiritually on their journey at a different time. So what might be right for your friend who's giving you advice isn't right for you. So I, left my abuser, and I almost got killed. We went to a friend of the court hearing, and I had a wedding out of town, and talk about angelic intervention. I had not shared with any of my girlfriends where I was going, and normally I tell everybody, hey, I got this fun party or wedding to go to. Well, my ex had loaded a shotgun and was looking for myself and the children that night, and we weren't at home because we were out of town. And I know that my angels interceded for me yet again by, keeping my mouth shut because he didn't know. So that I've basically written 4 books that go through my life experiences. Thank You God for Today was about my abusive relationship and tells the story of how I took my personal power back. The police couldn't find him by 2 a.m. in the morning. I actually went to my ex-sister-in-law, came over to warn me and said, he's looking for you, you can't stay here. So I'm like, where am I gonna go? He knows my friends. So she's like, well, come to my friends. He'll never think to look there. So at 2 a.m. in the morning, we got in the car, and it was her friend Marcia's car, so he wouldn't recognize it because the police hadn't found him. And I knew a couple places where he might be, so we went and ended up being in the country, parked down a country lane, and we saw his car by a pole barn and called the police, and we're sitting there in fear because this is crazy. But yet I thought, if I don't take my personal power back and do this, it's going to be another night when the kids and I are watching TV, and I won't be here anymore, and the kids won't be here anymore. So I looked at it as taking my personal power back of, we're going to find him, we're going to call the police. And we watched him be taken down, arrested, and he had a loaded shotgun that they took out of the car. So that was Thank You God for Today, because that's how I feel. I'm very fortunate to still be here, and I feel very blessed. I thought, God, I've had enough aha epiphany moments now. I had the near-death experience, and then I had this. There's been like 3 big exit points in my life, and I'm still here. So I feel like there's got to be a reason why. But what I always tell everyone is live every day in the now moment. I know everyone says that, but really do it. I had a ton of work to do yesterday. It was a beautiful day. My son got home from school, and his dog is Darth Vader, even though it's a little white schnauzer. he didn't care. His dog was going to be called Darth Vader. And he's like, Mom, let's go for a walk. And I'm like, my first thought, and I said it to him, I'm really way too busy. I've got too much to do. I'm sorry, but I can't. And then I'm like, no, practice what you preach. And I'm like, okay. I shut my computer, and I said, let's go. And he goes, but you just said. And I'm like, no, forget what I said. We're going. So just those little moments, and gardening and taking a walk and meditation. I'm sure you're all meditators in this room, but that is my biggest opening to intuition, was through meditation. I started receiving messages from crossed over loved ones in meditation. I met my guides in meditation. I talked to my angels in meditation. And more, when I asked my angels to come forth, I would feel a cold touch, or you feel the wind or a scent, or you just know, because you feel when you get that touch, that pure love that goes through you, that your angels are around you. So I always, every day when I meditate, to open up completely and to intuitively grow, I say I open my heart, I open my mind, and I open my soul to receive messages. And I put the white light of protection around me, and I ask for messages for my highest good. And I ask my angels to give me messages. I ask my guides. If I have a life problem, you can still communicate with crossed over loved ones. And it's just a great way to open up is through meditating. And if you don't like to sit still, and you can still be in a meditative way, gardening and being out in nature. So I don't know, have any of you experienced like something sporadically, like a knowingness comes through when you're doing something? Would you want to share, like when you're first really intense, intuitive?
My first intuition was when I was 9. Well, actually, the near-death experience, which when I was 2 or 3. But the one I can, I won't speak on that one. The one that's coming forward to talk about is when I was on my horse, when I was 9 and looking up at the clouds. And you know when you're a kid, and I don't know if you've had those moments where you just knew that moment would be with you the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And that 1 second then carried you forward for the next 30 years. And so as those flashes of how that flash can actually last for 20, 30, 40
Right.
years is just amazing to me. How it shapes your whole experience, that one touching of eternity.
Right.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing, and I think it's really empowering because a lot of people are afraid to share their talents, and they're afraid to open up to other people because they're afraid what people will think. But when you get past a point of you don't really die, the angels are there to help and to guide you. And when you get to a point where you don't care if someone criticizes you and you still want to be what your soul wants you to be, that's very empowering from a soul level. And the more and more that you open up, the more and more you'll be able to connect and attune and align to universal knowing and universal knowledge that's available to us all. So it's just very rewarding to be able to tap into that. And like I said, I feel that everyone can, and everyone has angels around you daily. Everyone has spirit guides that will help you. And, just trying to figure out what your soul's path is. So knowing your soul's path, ask yourself what you really feel passionate about and do more of it. If you're in a job that you don't feel passionate about, start doing it part-time before you quit your regular job so that you know what your soul wants. Give yourself quiet time every day. Get up a half hour early if you have to, and ask yourself, you ask your kids and your spouse, are you really happy? But you don't stop and ask, how happy am I? And then journal what comes to you. And if you do that daily, it gives you focus on where your soul self really wants you to go in life, even if it sounds crazy. I used to be a manager for Beaumont, and I never thought that I would be writing and going around talking to people about spirituality and being intuitive and, talking to spirits that have crossed over and meditation. But I am, because I let myself. And I didn't care what people thought, and I had plenty of people criticize me, well, you've got a good, this good job, and you could do this. It's like, it's not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I could be dead tomorrow. I see how quick, you can have a surgery that you didn't expect, and you can be gone tomorrow. So do what is your passion, at least part-time. If you can't give up your real job right away, do it part-time or figure out how to go take an art class. But really evaluate, self-evaluation of what really makes you happy. And in Path to Your Soul Self, I talk in depth about this. What makes your heart soar with joy? Do you feel purpose here on earth? Do you feel like you're fulfilling your soul's purpose? And if you answer no, then you really need to self-evaluate, meditate, and journal what comes to you on walks. And when you're, thinking what does make you happy, and do more of it. And take action steps towards more happiness, and synchronicity just happens. It does. When I wrote my first book, I had journaled for 3 years. I had tons of journals and thoughts that I had written, and I thought, I don't know how to go about doing this. So I was a member at the Chamber of Commerce at the time, and I mentioned it to a girlfriend who had a friend in Washington, D.C. who knew how to publish. So 2 days later, she Skyped me. And I didn't even know this person. But I was brave enough to share my dream. And then bam, 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 the help was there. Oh, you do this, and you do this, and you do this. So be brave enough to go after what makes your soul happy. So make your days really count for something. If you don't have time or you've got too much work, make time for yourself every day to really enrich your life. Ask yourself, who are you? Why are you here? What are you passionate about? And what really comes easy to you? Because whatever you really enjoy and what comes easy to you is really what your soul is trying to get across to you. This is what you should be doing because it's enjoyable and you love doing it. And I just really can't say it enough that I used to be a people pleaser, and I used to take care of everybody, and that just isn't healthy. And you don't have to have a near-death experience or have someone pass in your life to start loving yourself no matter what and having self-acceptance. But for opening up your intuition, meditation, does everyone in the room meditate? Because I'm sure you've seen, as you meditate longer and longer, more and more information. Oh, well, that's what I should do. And you just know it because it's your soul talking to you, literally in your meditation, guiding you, because you want to be happy. Your higher self, when you're in meditation, you're meeting with your higher self, and that soul knowledge from past lives and learning is being shared with you, and synchronicity will start to happen, and you can just go with the flow, and you're thinking, wow, I've been really lucky lately. It's like, no, you're doing your soul's work. So you get in that alignment and that attunement to be with your soul and your soul's path. And, my soul's mission this time was to realize that I needed to be loved as equally as I gave love. And that sounds pretty simple, but I've done past life regression and done meditations and saw some of my past lives. And even 100 years ago, I was in an abusive relationship and I was caring for the person. So I finally got it this time, that it's okay to do things for yourself. It's okay to do what you enjoy. It's okay to expect someone to give you love back as much as you love them. That it's not selfish. It's just how it should be. So I know that was my soul message. But I know when you quiet down and you just let that natural flow from your soul come to you, you realize your soul's path and your life mission. So once you align and attune yourself, that's when you connect with universal consciousness and more messages will start coming through. And you awaken and you become so more confident and self-accepting in yourself that a transformation occurs. And you realize that you really are your soul. You're not just this body. So you don't obsess about 5 pounds or how you look so much, because it's not really who you are anyways. You want to be healthy, but you really want to express your joy and happiness and why you're here in your soul's mission. And one of the experiences I had I thought was cool when I was thinking of my mom, and I was missing my mom, and my mom passed when I was in my 30s, I had gotten a shamrock tattoo with an Irish flag in it, which was unusual for me because I'm like not all tatted up. So it was in remembrance of her. So I always eat a salad every evening. Well, on top of my salad was a shamrock. I have that shamrock in wax paper in my Bible because that was my mom saying that made me proud because she was from Kilkenny, Ireland. And that really meant something emotional to me because I'm like, how cool is it that you can have your relatives gone but not really gone? Because you can still talk to them. They can still give you subliminal messages through birds or different animals you see, scents that you smell, perfume. We don't smoke. I'll get cigarette smoke, and I know my dad is around. My mom's perfume, where I smell lilacs. I mean, what a beautiful thing that we don't really lose our loved ones, that we all are eternal, and that our soul self goes on forever. So it's not scary, you know, to be able to communicate. And I do believe that all of us are intuitive. I believe all of us can have vivid dreams and visitation. And it all goes back to opening and allowing them to come through. So not just your body or your mind, but the whole part of you, that the universe and collective consciousness that you connect to. So really anything that you dream, you can manifest through positive affirmations that you say daily. Let go of all the fear and just allow. The more you allow, the more synchronicity will walk in and the more beautiful your life will become. And you'll think that you're being lucky, but you're pulling it to yourself. And journaling really helped me because when you journal, you can see your progress. I would meditate, I would write down that first thought that thumps into your head, and then I would date it, and then I'd put it away. And then I'd meditate the next day, and I would have crazy things come through it. It's like, it's never going to happen. Yeah, right. But I would write it down because it's what came to me. And then it might take 6 months, 7 months, but you'll be like, that day will come and you'll be like, oh my God, it happened. And how cool is that? To just through meditation know your own future, that these good things can come to you if you believe it. And it's really just that simple. Just watching your thoughts, being positive, always saying positive things over yourself in your life. If you're talking to a girlfriend, oh, I'm so this. Don't do that. Don't do negative talk about yourself or anyone else. Uplift yourself. You uplift everyone around you. So be that empowered soul. Letting go of the past. Learning to forgive people that you've hurt, including yourself. Sometimes you need to forgive yourself from things that you've done. And just having gratitude. Living in the now moment. Listening to that inner voice or that gut feeling. We've all had times where our gut told us, don't do it. You know you're not supposed to do it. You need to do this. And you're like, oh yeah, that's crazy. And then something bad happens and you're like, oh my God, I already knew, but I didn't listen. I pushed it away and didn't listen. So always listen to that gut feeling because it's your soul talking to you, trying to help you. So asking help for your guardian angels. I never get in my car without calling my angels, surrounding my car, protecting me to and from where I'm going. You know, but I do because I travel a lot. I go all over. So I call the angels to my car. I call the angels to protect me. And one of my trips, I was traveling to Lansing, and part of a bridge fell. And I hadn't seen it yet. So the thought, that knowing thump that came to me, brake now. And I'm like, I'm going 75 on the highway. I can't brake now. I was like arguing inside my head with the knowing thought. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to brake now. I'm going to listen. So I put the brakes on, and a chunk of the bridge came down and hit the front of my car. Well, if I'd have been going faster, it could have gone through my windshield. So I'm like, listen to that knowing thought, because it's protection. And I know that was angelic intervention yet again. Things like that have happened so many times to me, and the more I listen and follow it, the more I'm protected. So continually setting goals for yourself so that you'll continue to open and grow. And then I've got the different clairs here that you can read on your own. I'm claircognizance with a clear knowing. That's my strongest. It's kind of like what my son does. He'll know things before they happen for himself while he's young. So what I do is, how I started this is when I would talk to my friends on the telephone, I would tell them advice with their husband or whatever was going on. Well, they hadn't necessarily shared that with me, and they'd be like, how do you know that? And I didn't tell anybody that. And it's like, I don't know how I know it, but I do, you know? So it's that clear knowing. But we all have different clairs that we're really in tune with. And the more open and accepting, and the more you follow that intuition, the more it grows and expands. And then I'm sure you all know your chakras. In meditation, I always visualize the different colors of the chakras and the energy going up and down and through my body so that I feel balanced and attuned to the universe, so that all the good affirmations that I say daily, that I'm open and aligned to the universe to receive. So I just feel that being balanced and happy and open, you really, it sounds corny, but you really can achieve anything you set your mind to. So dream big in 2016. Take action steps and really expect your dreams to become your reality. Make your life what you want it to be. You have all the power to do it. All you have to do is apply the action to it. It's really just that simple. So I did an affirmation for today. And the affirmation is, I'm ready to be completely open to receiving messages from my angels, my guides, my higher self, or my soul self, and from God consciousness. I know I am capable of all things. As I learn to listen and continue to realize my talents and intuitive abilities, I will grow and expand with knowingness daily for the highest good of all. I open my mind, I open my heart, and I open my soul to receiving messages. I believe I receive, and I'm so very grateful. And I really do believe that we can continue to expand and do more and be more and more intuitive. And I pulled an angel card for today, and I pulled the angel of faith. I have faith that goodness and joy are mine now and forever. So know that good things are coming to you. It's certain. And when you have faith, all things are possible. So I send you all healing love, and I thank you for having me, and I thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.